Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Strategic Business Influencer, my new series for leaders who know that in today's evolving world, trust is the greatest competitive advantage. Today's guest is David Chavez, founder and CEO of Assured Strategy, serial entrepreneur, and trusted advisor to hundreds of CEOs across the world. David is also a military veteran, a former CPA, and a certified scaling up coach with more than a decade of experience helping companies grow with strategy, structure, and alignment. He has led successful exits, scaled his own companies, and coached over 280 businesses through significant transactions. His approach is practical, battle-tested, and rooted in real-world experience, from taking 5 companies public during his time at Arthur Andersen to building and selling his own CPA firm. Now, through Assured Strategy, he helps leaders align their teams, sharpen their execution, and drive real measurable growth. The reason I'm so excited to have David on is he is so unique because it's not just about the frameworks with David. He has been in the trenches himself as a seasoned entrepreneur, and his advice comes from real experience, not just theory. So I'm excited to welcome David to the series. So grateful to have you on.
Thank you. I think that has to be the best introduction anybody's ever made. That was
Well, you
fantastic.
have an impressive, you have such an
I sound,
impressive story and journey.
I sound
So
amazing.
excited. Well, you are.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to dive into, your story and just your experience, because you've worn a lot of hats, from military veteran to CPA to serial entrepreneur, and now advising hundreds of CEOs. I want to start, though, at the beginning of your journey. So what part do you feel of your story has shaped really how you lead today?
It's interesting you asked that question because in my childhood, I did not have a lot of discipline all throughout my childhood with the way I was raised. And so I would say that the army really helped me get the discipline. And then also, I know contrary to the public's belief, the army is great at training leaders. And I think I received a lot of really amazing training being in the army on leadership, how to deal with people, and how to improve myself. Then I went on to Arthur Andersen after I finished college after the army, and I learned quite a bit there. So I also learned what not to do. I remember somebody telling me once to keep my back against the wall, and I would do just fine there. It was an interesting time. I think that was the time that the world was starting to shift a little bit, and people were starting to understand leadership at a higher level. I didn't have that everywhere I went in Arthur Andersen, but I definitely saw that old style still there. So it taught me what probably I don't want to do, and then what I want to do with the great leaders that I had there. I had some amazing leaders also, so I couldn't say that it was just one way. And then, of course, I think running my own businesses and learning from doing things wrong is really where learned quite a bit. I hate to say that, but I probably have botched leadership several times in my journey, and it's taught me some valuable lessons. It could be with losing somebody that's really important to the organization. It could be with yeah, objectives not being met, things like that. So I would say scaling up just had a lot of influence on me too. And then some of the speakers and books I've read over time really had a lot of influence, and that is contributed a lot to scaling up.
Mm. I love how you talked about, learning what not to do and learning from mistakes, because, there's that, phrase, fail fast, and you keep moving forward. I think that's so crucial. And what I love about what you do now, David, is you're one of the only coaches I know that has built and exited your own companies before. And so I'm curious, what has made you decide to take everything you've learned, the good and the bad, and turn it into a mission to help other CEOs scale and succeed?
Oh, what a great question. I don't know if that was my intent originally, to do this long term. Literally, I sold my CPA firm. And when I sold my CPA firm, I knew I wanted to start a consulting firm. I didn't really know what I was going to be consulting on. Up to that time, I had done a lot of valuation work. I've done over 100 deals buying and selling companies. I had done, I did IPOs, things like that. And so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to consult on though. And after taking a year off after I sold my CPA firm, I got online to just get a one-page strategic plan that's scaling up offers, and they were looking for coaches. And literally at that time, I didn't even know what a coach was, and I was pretty heavy in the consulting world. So coaches were just really starting to come online at that time, and they were looking for a coach. So I started investigating it, and I threw in my hat in the ring, and they asked me to come into Scaling Up, and I've been there for 16 years now. We license their products, so we have our own company, but at the same time, they've had a lot to do with that. And then I just ended up loving it. I mean, once you start to be successful at doing this, and you have your clients really have huge jumps in their business, then it really starts to motivate you. And I just think my experience with valuation and my financial acumen, like from Arthur Andersen and the time thereafter, and my own CPA firm, all that I learned really comes into play with helping people. So it is some of the transactions I've done myself and the challenges that went with that, but it's also helping a lot of other people do it from the financial side, and then now from more of the strategic growth side. So you just get a lot of that experience, I think, that comes along the way. So
Yeah,
hopefully that
and
answers
you
the
know
question.
how, yes, and I'm sure you know too somewhat how they might be feeling at certain points of their growth just because of
Yeah.
your own experience as well.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, even the clients may feel I'm judging them, and I have to remind them I'm not judging them. I have
Mhm.
my own stuff, and I've probably made all these mistakes. Every one of the mistakes they're making, I've made in my own time. I'm just trying to help
Sure.
them see it as fast as I can. And sometimes that's not easy to do.
Yeah. And as a coach of a CEO, like you were saying, you have to have that high trust, especially when you're in, high stakes moments of their company. So I'm curious, how do you go about building that credibility and connection with these leaders who are used to, having all the answers themselves? I'm sure that's really challenging as you walk into a room like that.
Yeah, I think that I've learned that a potential client really has to have humility. And
Mhm.
if the client doesn't have humility, and sometimes it's not easy to see, you have to ask some questions that they may not even realize you're asking. And the way they answer them, you can sort of figure out whether they have humility or not. Because some people come off a little arrogant when they're not, right? Really, that
Mhm.
confidence is something they need to scale their company. And as an entrepreneur, getting a company off the ground, you have to have a lot of self-belief, right? And that's a fine line to where that turns into ego versus humility. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes it gets a little cloudy in there, but I think I try to ask them hard questions and really challenge their beliefs with my heart, not judgment. And so I think people feel that when they're working with me. Like I would probably say that most of my clients would say, man, he is hardcore, very frustrating sometimes, but he holds you accountable and he
Mhm.
gets you out of your safe space so you can actually make the advances that you really want to make. And he does it in a way where it feels like he's pushing a little too hard, but at the same time, you can tell he cares about what's happening. So that's the general feedback I've received from my clients about my approach. But they wouldn't say it was easy.
Sure. Sure. And I do think it takes so much talent to be able to come in a room and do that with somebody, and takes so much psychological safety that you have to build with them as well. I know that you mentioned earlier you discovered scaling up after using it to scale your own firm. And so I'm curious, what was it about that model that clicked for you? And why do you believe that scaling up is the best model out there?
I'll start off with my story first. My business had really just stopped growing for 5 years. My CPA firm grew super fast. I mean, it was just on
Mm.
this really high trajectory. I think the last year before it really stopped growing, it only grew like about 5%. The in the sixth year that I had it, and after the first 5 years, I don't think I had a year lower than 100% growth. And
Wow.
it was crazy at first at like 700, 900%. So
Wow.
it was just crazy growth. And then it just stopped. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I read the book, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. That's where scaling up
Hmm.
first was introduced. And I started to realize that I'm a control freak and that I'm stopping my company from growing. And it's really interesting because as an entrepreneur, you sort of have to be a control freak when you're starting the
Sure.
company. But as you're starting to scale it, you need to let some of that go and you need to plan it out. And what scaling up did is it really got me focused on planning out my strategy. I think there's a lot of other systems out there that focus on execution. Execution is important, and I'm not saying scaling up doesn't provide that, but its focus is getting the strategy down, then executing with excellence, not the other way around. And so I would
Hmm.
say that a lot of people come to us from other systems. Once they hit about 20 million, I'd say probably in between 10 and 20 million, we pick up quite a few from other systems that say, it's just not working anymore. And that's because it's not connected to a strategy in the company. So that's where it really, I think the difference between scaling up, I think it's really strategically focused. It does have a lot of focus on people, who's the right people on the bus, the old cliche term, and
Hmm.
then also executing with excellence and building cash flow. So that you
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
the initiatives you want to do as you grow.
Yeah, and I think you made such a great point. It's hard sometimes to transition from that founder to CEO as you scale the business. I'm curious, what type of mindset shift do you feel like needs to happen to start letting go of that control and putting other people in the right seats to lead some of those parts of the business?
Yeah, I would say a mirror, right?
Mm.
And just hold the mirror up to the client and let them see what's happening. I think 85% of our behaviors in our subconscious mind, and we really have no control. And I think what you're trying to do is get people consciousness so they can actually see what's going on. And that's not always easy, and it's not going to happen in one setting. It's really interesting. I was with a client last week, and we've been together for almost a year now. And I told them the retreat before last, this was the last retreat that we have scheduled in this agreement, but we're going to continue on. But in the last
Mhm.
retreat, the one before that, I actually told them I was lying to them about some things because if I shared everything right out of the gate, it would overwhelm them to the point of shutting them
Mhm.
down. So I have to balance how much you tell them and what timing that's going to be. And so I think that's one of the challenges I see a lot. But the other one, the big one I really see is on leadership teams, there's people on the team that don't belong there.
Mhm.
Um, Usually, what we do is, when we're a smaller company, we promote somebody, and they become a valuable asset to us, and not diminishing what they've even done up to that point. They're just not the person
Sure.
that's going to take you to the next level, and it's really hard to deal with that. And how I usually say it to when I'm talking to executives is because these people been to dinner at my house. They know my kids. I know their kids. I know their spouse. I know, they know my life. I know
Mhm.
theirs. And we become connected through all the challenges that we have overcome. And so the connection you have with that person is so close, and it's really hard to when you start to see that that person's not going to be the one to help you carry to the next level, and have
Yeah.
to deal with that and have that hard conversation with them, right? But I would also say, don't throw that person away. we got to find the right position in the company for them, because you obviously believe the same values and things like that. So it just, that's probably the biggest issue I run into, because I've seen a lot of really great companies out there and worked with a lot of them, and they won't switch a leadership team. So they never get what they really want to get. So they just won't do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a constant blind spot that you're having to point out for them that they're
Mhm.
not seeing themselves, which is so hard.
Yeah.
I want to I want to look at, some of your time, especially with your CPA firm. So once you had your exit, that would be the point that a lot of entrepreneurs would say, "Hey, this is the finish line. This was the end goal." But I'm curious for you during that transaction, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Phew. That's probably about,
I know.
yeah, well,
This might
that's
take us a
probably,
full hour.
yeah, yeah. I have to go to my therapist after I'm done. I would say I made a couple of really big mistakes that I knew that I should have not made. Um,
Mm,
so it was, I had already been helping people with exiting and buying new companies, and I don't think I had a goal when
mm,
I was selling my firm. I didn't reset. uh, um, Selling the firm was the milestone. And then when I sold it, I didn't realize how depressed I was actually going to become. So,
mm.
and I think I really became depressed because I really didn't have the next objective. I actually thought I was going to retire, like you were insinuating, right? I literally thought I was. Um, but golfing every day for a year was not fun, in
Yeah.
the end. And I just missed the excitement, and that's why I got back in. And I don't think I'll ever retire now. That I think my opinion's totally changed of it. And I
Mm,
think I just love the challenges, and it keeps my brain active and keeps me
yeah.
active with all the challenges and everything that I'm trying to help people through. And then even scaling my own company, the challenges right now.
Yeah. And I love that you jumped into just an entirely, new industry with assured strategy as well. It's a whole new challenge, I'm sure, and a whole new type of business to scale for you, which is really interesting as well. One of the things that I know you talk about is helping leaders find their freedom. And so I'm curious, what does freedom mean to you as a founder and coach?
Yeah, our purpose in our company, our mission statement, if you will, is guiding leaders through change to find their freedom. And one of the things I say to the coaches that if you're not interested in doing that, please leave, because you won't
Mm,
be helping us. And I think that freedom really in our purpose is not for me to define, but that's for each individual. But I say what's freedom to
mm,
me is being able to spend time really growing my company and really understanding my customers' needs. I think that that's really fun, and trying to come up with new ways of helping them solve their issues is really fun. And um, I say that from the freedom standpoint, is being able to spend time doing that and not let the
mm.
operations of the company rule all my time. Right.
Sure.
So
I love
it's
that.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really being able to go out, and the real problem is like when we're small, we're very close to the customer. We're talking to them every day. As you start to scale, you get further away from those customers, but you still act
Hmm.
like, and that's the big mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make. You're not close to that customer anymore. And so that distance from the customer, I have to go down and spend time there. And that's what freedom is to me, to be able to go down there and spend time there and listen and really come up with new ideas and new products we could offer, things like that.
Yeah. And what do you think it takes for a CEO to actually get to that freedom that they've defined for themselves?
Well, I think it's you have to get out of all the things you're doing now, really. um, a lot of us, when we start companies, and I think you probably experience the same thing, we're in the doing. I'm still in the doing probably half of my time. I would tell you that I was probably at 90% 3 years ago. So I've come down quite a bit, but I probably need to get down to about 20 to 25% of my time spending time with clients. And then the rest of the time spending thinking and then going out and visiting all the clients and just finding out what their real needs are so I can
Yeah.
help satisfy those needs that they have.
Yeah, I love that. And there are two questions, David, that I love to ask every entrepreneur, and I'm excited to hear your answers. So the first one is, who are you in addition to being a CEO?
In addition to being a CEO, I am a father and husband, and just and also I love to travel, and I travel quite a bit, even with work. But it's sort of funny, like I try to incorporate a little bit of fun into those trips too. So that's one of the things I love to do. I love to fish. I haven't done it as much as I would like to do it, but hopefully someday I'll get back into that. I'm sure I will. Our company's starting to get to a stage where I can start to back out a little bit more every day and
Mm.
start to really concentrate on what I'd love to do. But I would tell you, hiking is probably the number one, and outside of traveling that I love to do. And then, so I love to do that. And I would just say, friends. Um,
Yeah.
I like to, I hate to say this, but I like to do yard work, and I have people doing my yard now, and I really miss it. But I just bought a house to put my office in, so there's a little bit of yard work here.
Mm.
And it's funny, I'm probably going to hire somebody though, because I just don't have time with all the travel and everything. But I do
Yeah.
love doing that. So those things may come back into my life over time. So
Sure. Sure. I love that. It's the little things, right?
yeah, yeah. And really, it is the little things that more than anything. And I
Mm.
just keep my life pretty quiet, I guess now. But at the same time, I it's pretty active with the clients and everything that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the last question I have for you is, what is the impact that you want to have at the end of every day?
At the end of every day, oh boy, I sometimes that's a good question. Sometimes you leave the day not really realizing that goal. But my day would be to have done a little bit that day to move the company forward and to help my clients a little bit. That's really what my
Mm.
goal is every day. And I
Mhm.
think I really try to make sure I focus on that. And a really good day is when a client tells me thank you, that we really made an impact on them. That would be something that would really resonate with me and feel like I had lived that day correctly. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge, just to get that feedback in there and know tangibly what that impact has looked like for them, I'm
yeah,
sure.
most definitely.
Well, thank you so much, David. I know that there are just a ton of nuggets that you just dropped in this episode, and so I'm excited for others to hear it and just learn from your experience. But I appreciate you so much coming on the show. I know you're incredibly busy, and just thank you for everything that you've shared.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to seeing it on the internet.
Yeah, alrighty. Well, we'll see y'all next time.